G'day guys and welcome back today to the Freo Faithful podcast, episode number 10 Mazungu, a young Nathan Fife. Hey, bit of a throwback.
There you go. That's niche.
Hello Noah, what's going on? We won! We got the win!
Oh, how high can I get? Because we've just gone and completed one of the hardest road trips in footy for the first time in our club's history. But you all know it very well may come crashing down very, very soon. So I'm very, very cautious. I want to temper my expectations. I am more hopeful rather than certain this is something we can build on.
I messaged my mum the night before the game. I said we're going to win tomorrow. And you posted a story on Freo Faithful, like how are we feeling heading into this game? I was like, we're going to win. Not that that means anything, because we could have easily lose and then it, could have just been like shut down the toilet really. But we got the win after 2 losses in a row. And we will unpack the game. I was playing for Wattle Park at the time. I didn't watch the game live. I was here in Melbourne, freezing conditions, pissing down rain, got the win. And I was sort of getting updates on the bench throughout the day. And, Freo was sort of leading all throughout the day. And I'm like, all right, we've bottled these before. And then it got to the 4th quarter and we're sort of, 4 or 5 goals ahead. And I'm like, we couldn't bottle it from here. Surely enough, we got the win, Noah. What happened? How did we get it done?
Well, it's funny you talk about bottling because at 3/4 time, I'd never had heavier Essendon vibes from a game ever. The vibes I was getting from that weren't good. I was very, very nervous.
That's the trauma.
A better team.
That's
we're just gonna, exactly, PTSD. I was very scared. Just a better team. We're just gonna come and roll over us in the 4th, and we had a very, very young midfield in there. Neil Erasmus got a full game, playing inside. And look, I remember Raz actually played in those crunch time moments against the Bombers last year, and he sort of crumbled at the occasion. And a few of our other younger guys did, but I think what that performance showed was an increase in maturity from not just last year, but building over the season. That was our first 4/4 performance of the season. That's the most fulfilled I felt after a win this season. And I just don't understand how we can just flip a switch from playing. I mean, that second half against Collingwood last week was so dour and slow, and it just lacked all there. And against the Giants, some of the ball movement was matching it with the best in the comp. It was unbelievable. We were catching some of the Giants superstars off guard. We smashed a midfield consisting of Tom Green, Finn Callahan, Toby Green went in there on a stage. So we comprehensively sort of controlled the Giants from the first bounce to the final siren. And it was our superstars that stood up and really got us over the line. Shai Bolton, best game in purple, 3 goals, 25 touches, we are getting exactly what we paid for. JL sort of bangs on about how he sort of came from a low base in the preseason. He was injured and we have to work him into the season. It's exactly what he's done. Even when he was sort of unable to make an impact due to sort of playing at about 60%, he was still doing enough and still leading us to some decent results. And then, Caleb Serong, we've banged on about stop Serong, stop Freo all season. And clearly, despite the Giants having a very alert and good media team, they haven't been watching the Freo Faithful channel because they just put no effort into Caleb Serong. 36 touches. He took the piss for the first time in a few weeks, which was great to see. And I think it's sort of reminding teams that you do actually have to stop him because his in and underground work is the kickstarter for all of our great chains that lead to a really fluent and quick attacking play. So, yeah, I thought our midfield was the area of our game that really got to work, and it was led by Luke Jackson. And we've got to talk about him because what a week he's had.
Mate, right. I think you've just spoken for about 10 minutes, and I wanted to unpack every point that you made from Neil Erasmus to Collingwood to ball movement to Luke Jackson to best win of the season to midfield battle to Shai Bolton.
I can see you writing down. My bad. Just a bit of word vomit.
Oh, get it out, brother. So the best win of the season, and let's unpack what you just spoken about. So, yes, it was probably our best win of the season. Speaking about tempering expectations, we had a comment from the man 87 who wants to know how much was this GWS being bad a factor in this win? Should we temper our expectations? GWS were bad. I'm not trying to be the Debbie Downer here, but GWS, that was not the GWS that played Geelong the week before. We came off a 9-day break. That also played a factor. Again, we'll get onto all the positives, but there are factors that made us look really good. They were missing their tackles. We sort of just ran over the top of them, to be honest. But the difference between the Collingwood and the GWS game, for me, the biggest difference, and you said we went into our shells in that Collingwood game, but in the first, second, and fourth quarter, I liked how we took the game on, and we won the clearance battle and inside 50s. So heading into the GWS game, I thought, well, if we show up with those same statistics in differential in clearances and inside 50s, we're a massive chance. All we had to do was lower the eyes. And I think a massive part of, or massive barometer for us, and I think I've said it before, is Michael Frederick and the small forwards at the Dockers. Not only does it mean that the small forwards get involved in the game, it also means that our ball movement is just better going inside 50 because we're finding those fast forwards or crafty forwards in good areas. Michael Frederick's work up the ground to hit up and be involved in lead chains, and then when he didn't get used, running back to goal and finding space. Thought Murphy Reid had a really good game after having a tough couple of weeks as well. So yeah, I think if our smalls can get into the game, that just shows that it's a complete team effort, because being a small forward, it's a really tough position, tough way to work yourself into the game. But in that first half, Michael Frederick was everywhere. I watched the full replay when I got home, and yeah, he was massive. So I just word vomited. But yeah, I think the difference between the Collingwood and the GWS game was the lowering of our eyes to bring the smalls into the game, not just bombing on the head of our tools. What did you make of our forward line as a whole?
Well, I think it's safe to say, I mean, Free's been at the club, 4 or 5 years now. I think that probably was his best game as a Docker. I think that's the first time it's
That's a great shot, you know.
Look, I can't believe that he's never kicked more than 3 goals in a game. I think he's kicked 3 about 8 times in his Freo career, but it is his equal career high yet again. And he has been massively criticised by the fan base and by us for in-game consistency. And even when he kicks a couple goals, he sort of just goes missing in general play. But the amount of times he pushed up the ground and how crucial he was to the link-up, that margin wouldn't have been anywhere near as big, or we potentially wouldn't have even won if he didn't get involved in all those chains. I thought he was absolutely brilliant, and it's got to be the benchmark for him moving forward. We know his talent. We've picked him consistently for years on end, and I think that can potentially be the start of a really good run of form for Freddie.
Yeah.
I loved his game so much.
Yeah, Frederick is always one of the first ones that fans criticise. Freo Faithful channel, we hear the voice of the fans, and probably along with Matt Johnson, Jai Amos, Michael Frederick would be right up there as one that the fans hop on as soon as we lose. And yeah, we have been critical of him, not from an attacking point of view, because we know how much athleticism he has. I think he's a great mark of the ball. The pace that he provides, he's a nightmare for opposition defenders to stop. But it's been more of his sort of defensive acts in the past that we've sort of been critical of, how many tackles he can get in a game. But yeah, obviously to get the small forwards in the game, it takes the midfield connecting with those small forwards, and I think that was the key to unlocking Freddie's game. But you said it well, one of his best games in purple, and he really did break that game open with his X factor. So yeah, a really coming of age game for Michael Frederick. You spoke about our ball movement. Loved how we just sort of bit off kicks into the corridor. Fast ball movement. That 3-2-1 ball movement game that I've started to play was great. Loved seeing how we moved the ball by hand, by foot, and just, backing ourselves in. Tell you who I do like the look of with their ball movement. Do you want to play 3-2-1 and guess what I'm going to say?
I know exactly who you're going to say, but let's play the game.
3, 2, 1. Cooper Simpson.
Cooper Simpson.
Yeah.
Yes.
Man, when that boy is on the ball, just so aesthetically nice on the eye. Again, I haven't seen him really challenge defensively. Maybe you can add a rebuttal on that if you saw some good things defensively on the weekend. But give that boy a handball receive. I want to see it all day long. Yeah, he kicked a goal as well. I don't have the stats up right now, but what a game from young Cooper Simpson.
I don't think, Murphy Reed since round one sort of been locked in this best 22. I think Cooper Simpson is the second person this season that is quickly, only 2 games into a season, becoming quickly crucial to our defensive makeup. We sort of went through that experimental stage of the 4 talls, a very, very tall backline. We had Josh Draper playing a bit smaller. He got burnt a few games. And we've decided to go a bit rogue at the selection table, and we've brought in Cooper Simpson, who has only had a handful of games at Peel in the back line, and clearly the coaching staff saw enough to chuck him in the AFL side. And when he got brought in, I think last week's poll we were discussing how much we just need an extra line breaker in the team. In our traditional best 22 over the past couple of years, it's been Brandon Walker, who's been that smaller defender, who's, he shows burst, he's got speed, but he sort of plays from a bit deeper in the back line. The fact we've now got Cooper Simpson, who is starting on the halfback, he's pushing up into sort of a defensive wing role, and he's impacting our attacking play. I think it just completely revitalizes how we move the ball from the back line. And on his defensive work, Darcy Jones wasn't his direct matchup. He kicked 2 goals. And then you look at the other smalls. Toby Green, he only kicked 1. Harvey Thomas, he didn't kick a goal. Toby McMullen, he didn't kick a goal. And Toby Bedford, he also didn't kick a goal, who was playing quite a bit of midfield, but also rotates into the forward line. So if you look at the Smalls' impact from the Giants, if you're looking at it from a team perspective or a Cooper Simpson's perspective, I thought he played his role fantastically both ways.
Fair play. I want to see him in a tough one-on-one against, who have we got next week? Like a Willie Rioli. I want to see that. And
yeah, he might get a job.
Geordie Clark had a massive game last week against Collingwood, and he could really pave the way for what player Cooper Simpson becomes. So, love to see that. And yeah, you discussed Shai Bolton. Without Hayden Young in the side, which is crazy to think, we've just got an injured Hayden Young going through rehab. Hope he's going well. If you're listening at home, Hayden, hope the rehab's coming along well, brother. But, man, I just thought Toby Bedford would go to Serong all day long, tag, and that's how you beat Freo. You stop us winning clearances, you stop our best clearance getter, and you win. But you got to do something to stop Shai Bolton, because it just looked like he was roaming around all day by himself, and he was taking the absolute piss. He just looked like he was having fun out there. Looked like he was playing at lunch at school, just having fun, kicking goals, laying tackles. Can we please just keep this man fit and on the park? If he can play a full season, I don't know if there's any player in the competition that can go to him. He could genuinely be an All-Australian conversation come the end of the year. I think Bedford sort of switch tag between Serong and Brayshaw, but the mids as a unit got to work, and it's no surprise that Luke Jackson was leading the charge from the ruck.
Yeah, well, look, it's really interesting. You just talked about the tag there. I think Brayshaw is taggable, but you're not really preventing massive parts of the Freo midfield by tagging Brayshaw. I think Serong does most of the grunt work. He's the guy you usually tag, and he's the most effective guy to tag. But you've got Shai Bolton, who is literally untaggable. You don't even bother putting a guy there to try to run with him. He is the hardest player to tackle in the league. The way he arches his back, him and Nick Dacos are the 2 that come to mind in terms of hard players to tackle. He is so difficult to get a hold of as a defender, and he gets all over the ground at ease. He works so incredibly hard, which I think is an underrated asset of his game. He gets into the right positions. He kicked 3 goals, 3, was it? I want to say 3 goals, 3.
Him and Freddie could have had 5 each, easily.
Oh, absolutely. The margin could have been well bigger. We missed some very, very easy chances. So, yeah, I think Shai's work rate and just the dynamic he brings in that midfield is unbelievable. You were just mentioning Hayden Young. He's the guy we've mentioned that brings that different sort of speed and athleticism to that engine room. We had Nathan O'Driscoll doing that at the start of the season. And now Shai Bolton's pretty much at 100% fitness. He's fully recovered from his injury. He's getting that bulk midfield time, and he is showing why we paid so much for him. He is having an unbelievable season, and that game only just built on it.
Yeah, well, he had to step up in the absence of Hayden Young. I think with Hayden Young in the side, he was probably playing a bit more time in that forward line, which is a great option to have because he can sit on heads and do incredible things. You see Shai Bolton come into the midfield, and it looks great with Brayshaw and Serong. Wagner came off the wing. Didn't really see too much from Matt Johnson, but Neil Erasmus, who you mentioned, pretty much off the top. I just want to see him get a fair run of games because I don't think he had the best game, to be honest, but he just brings something that Serong and Brayshaw don't have in the absence of Hayden Young. Shai Bolton is a good kick, but I think Neil Erasmus, his composure and his ability to see the play unfold, particularly for the setup for that Murphy Reid goal, there wasn't really a whole lot on. Murphy Reid just sort of does this little trail lead. I don't even know what the terminology is for it, but starts, I don't know, just finds a pocket of space and Erasmus just puts it on his chest. I've seen it for years now with Erasmus in the team. In that sort of forward 70, 80 area, his kicks just unlock the game for us. Now, obviously, he's been sent to the waffle to work on his defensive craft. Like you said, that Essendon game last year really stands out where he got a little bit exposed. And you compare Johnson to Erasmus, I think Erasmus offers a lot more for us going forward. Johnson probably more so with his tackling and big body. But yeah, Erasmus in his draft year was compared to that sort of Petrarca mold type of player, that sort of mid-forward, that does his damage with the ball in hand in the front half. I feel like we just need to get games into him to see his game really evolve at the AFL level because I feel like he's played about 25 games and probably a good 18, 19 of them he's been sub. So I just want to see Neil's strengths come out because, he's a really highly drafted pick. And we all want him to do well. Super athlete, super professional. But yeah, we just need to see if he can actually live up to his potential. I think he's got the skill to. It's just, is he up to the sort of explosiveness, physicality, and can he, become harder to play against compared to his opposition? I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
Yeah, I do. I mean, you talk about his physicality. He went head-to-head for quite a bit on the weekend with Tom Green, who is the biggest midfielder in the league. And he really held his own and actually excelled. He picked up his first career coaches' votes as well, which I think probably locks him in the team for the next few weeks. I don't see how you get coaches' votes and then get dropped when you're a young guy like Raz who needs continuity. And I think this might actually be his breakthrough, to be honest. That game on the weekend, I thought was the first time I actually watched him in the AFL side and thought he's bringing something we don't currently have, and it is of massive value. And it wasn't out of the sub-vest. It was from the first bounce till the final siren. He didn't fade out of the game, and we played him in an inside midfield role. We didn't play him in any of this high half forward, rotating onto a wing, push up into stoppages. We played him as an inside midfielder, and he absolutely excelled. The Giants, as a unit, their midfield isn't working fantastically at the moment, but they've got so many different dynamics in there. Like, their two best midfielders are Finn Callahan and Tom Green, and they are completely different players. And yes, they're missing some guys who usually roll through there, the Josh Kellys and the Brent Daniels, but I thought it was a really sort of 2-3-dimensional midfield that Neil Erasmus excelled in, and he worked so well in unison with the Johnsons, the Serongs, the Brayshaws, and the Boltons. We had a lot of different sort of CBA mixes in there on the weekend, and I thought Erasmus played his role in every single one of them. So yeah, I thought he was really composed on the weekend. I thought he made our team better, which it's easy to say, give the young kid a run and just give him some continuity. But I thought he was genuinely a valuable part of that team. And I think that's got to give him some sort of continuity heading into the future.
Neil Erasmus, your time is now, son. You're in the team. It's been hard to get here. Here you are. Make it count. Nathan O'Driscoll will be back soon.
Yeah.
Well, it's going to be him or Johnson that drop out. And to be honest, based on this year, and I heard the fan cams, I had that on the way home from my game. I feel like just based on form, not even what Erasmus has done, but some of the ball use of Matt Johnson this year, I'd rather see Erasmus stay in the side right now than Johnson. I know Johnson might offer more just again from that big body perspective. But But I'd like to see Neil Erasmus have a good run at it. And our next month now is actually looking pretty reasonable. We sort of spoke about it a month ago. Like, you know, we got Collingwood, we got GWS. We should beat the Saints, but tough run of games coming up. Port Adelaide looked sort of intimidating when we were looking at it 3 weeks back. Not that we're overlooking them, but we should win that game at home if we're half a decent side, to be honest, with the form that they've been in and the criticism that they're facing, and no Jason Horne-Francis. But yeah, before we get into some of the other big topics on this podcast, I just want to say that I'm not going along for the ride this week with this win, Noah, because that St Kilda loss has done something to me. Like,
Yeah.
I
100%.
I described it on the stream I was speaking of average after the Collingwood game, and think about like a Mortal Kombat, a video game for those playing along at home. Like, you got a health bar, right, out of 10. Heading into that St Kilda game after the Melbourne loss, I was probably at like an 8.5 to probably an 8.5 passion, let's say. You know, hadn't had the best season, but, you know, we're still early days. That St Kilda loss dragged me back down to a 3. And after the Collingwood game, I didn't go any higher than a 3.5. So that GWS win, after the topsy-turvy win-loss, I've been fooled by this trick before. So I just don't want to get pulled into this. You know what I mean? Yes, Lots of positives. We've just discussed how many positives there were. Thought Tracy and Voss, the Bash brothers, are continuing to build their chemistry. Thought Jai Amos had a better game. Switter brought great pressure. Thought we defended really well. We've seen this time and time again. Our team defense can be great. Our clearance dominance can be the best in the competition. Our forward mix has so much X factor. There's so much talent across the park. But we have seen this before, ladies and gentlemen. Don't be fooled about the Dockers. That's why I'm not getting too hyped up this week. We've got, Port and then Gold Coast.
Yep.
And then like Essendon, West Coast.
Then the bye. Then we've got Essendon. North and Essendon.
North Essendon, right. So, like, unless we win all of those games, I'm not going to be at the same point I was on the Mortal Kombat health bar, if you're following. I'm not going to be up at 8 unless we like win all of them. Maybe we drop one against Gold Coast or whatever it is. But Essendon, North, Port at home, come on. We have to.
I'm in the same boat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you. Look, I think one thing playing into our favour, we're in Perth for 5 of the next 6 weeks, which is just huge. We obviously play our best footy in Perth. And as you said, with that health bar, I'm probably still at about a 6. We've just beaten the Giants away for the first time ever. I'm probably at a 6. But I think what's pushed it up is, I think that was a mental roadblock we sort of overcame on the weekend. The only win outside of Perth we've had this season was against Richmond at the Barossa. Barely an away game, to be honest. So I think the fact we've actually gone to a team's home ground, a ground we've never won at, and we played that comprehensively well. I'm not saying it's going to continue, but I think in the longer term, when these tougher sort of road trips come, it's really going to hold us in good stead. And that Gold Coast environment we've got, not this week, but next week, I think is going to be very similar to what we've just played. It's definitely going to be a tougher game. Gold Coast are a better team. But it's sort of going to be that atmosphere where there's going to be under 10,000 people there, let's be real. It's a ground we historically don't travel very well at, but we've just overcome what we haven't been able to for 10 years away at the Giants. I think that Suns game all of a sudden, there's a little bit more optimism around it. I'm not saying we're expected to win that, but I just think that win on the weekend, it's that temporary raise of optimism that eventually will, come crashing down. But look, let's enjoy the win. Let's hope we can build on from here. And I mean, I think the most important thing is we've only got 2 games before the bye, and we are historically awful coming off the bye.
Yes.
So that's also going to be another thing we'll talk about when we get closer to it. look, there's a big few weeks coming up for the club and just the makeup of the season as a whole. But I think maturity-wise and mentally, I think this was a very, very good win for the footy club.
That means nothing to me, to be honest.
I don't blame you. That Saints game was so deplorable. Like, it's not...
Optimism, schmoptimism is all I can say about that one. Like, I thought... I was in your position after the Adelaide game. I was like, yeah, we lost to the D's, but Adelaide, God, they're a good side. And, you know, we're seeing what they're doing this year. They're one of the most exciting teams in footy. And we beat them. We stuck it up and we stopped them. God, that was a mature display. God, we really turned a corner into a fucking right jab to the nose.
Not once said we've turned a corner, by the way.
Yeah.
No, not once.
No, but...
We've not turned the corner. We need to put together a run of a few wins, like 4 wins minimum.
I appreciate your point of view. And I appreciate all the optimistic Dockers fans' point of view because I need you to bring me up in these times. But yeah, I'm trying not to get myself dragged into this trap. I've been there many a time before.
Nobody blames you as well. Like, I very easily could just sit here and say, mate, you're being unreasonable. You're on a Fremantle podcast. It's got a fair platform now. Like, don't be negative. Don't push these poor agendas into the fan base. But you are right. We need to actually see a run of consistency that brings us up to the level that we could potentially be back. Because at the moment, my optimism still isn't really anywhere near sky high.
I was having a beer with a Freo fan on Friday night at the pub, and he was saying he wasn't even going to watch the game on Saturday. He's genuinely given up. He went on this massive spiel about how, we'll get into the Luke Jackson stuff, but how, I don't want to bring this much negativity into it, but he was saying that he doesn't know if Fremantle is a club where you can succeed. Like, look at Luke Jackson, look at Jesse Hogan, players like Brad Hill, Blake Acres, Roy Love, like all these players that have left. But we're not going to get into that today. But what we will get into, Noah, is the Luke Jackson saga. You couldn't write a better story than it if you tried. I don't know where I'm going with that. But it was Tuesday night last week. Some Donny Quartermain from the West Australian said that Luke Jackson is set to request a trade. He's the one on that podcast, isn't he? There's like two older geezers. That's one of the best podcasts out there.
It's a great podcast, yeah.
Because you can just tell that they know their shit and they've been doing it for a long time. So for him to break it, I don't know any of his history as a journo. I just like listening to him talk about Freo. But it just didn't make sense when the story broke. Like, there was murmurings about it. And I actually heard a Luke Jackson trade rumor before the Melbourne game, just at a barbecue. Someone told me here in Melbourne that he'd heard that Luke Jackson's looking for a trade back over here. Luke Jackson spent a massive time of his off-season over here and down in Geelong. There has been this sort of murmuring. And then my mind goes to, is it because of the Sean Darcy situation? I don't think it's an on-field thing. I don't think it's a culture thing at the club because, you know, the group seems really connected. Seems like there is a good sort of mateship at the club at the moment. It doesn't feel like we have a shit culture like we did in that sort of 2017 period. But I hear you've got a bit of an inside scoop as to what's going on, Noah.
I don't even know how to word this.
Freo Faithful. You don't have to say where you were, where you heard it, who told you.
Nah.
But what can you make of this Luke Jackson situation? Because it hasn't made any sense. You made a video on it last week. So give us a Freo Faithful first scoop.
What I can say exclusively here on Freo Faithful is that whether this conversation happens directly or indirectly, I heard that from a former Fremantle player, somebody that is close around the West Australian football spaces, that this is not an on-field thing. Like, Luke Jackson, if Justin Longmuir is that hellbent that Sean Darcy is our number one ruck of the future, and that Luke Jackson is our third tall alongside, whether it's Vossi, Nev, whatever, he's okay with that. He's happy to play forward. He doesn't care. What he's not happy with is the off-field sort of shenanigans that's taken place in his life. I'm not going to go into detail in what's happening. The information is probably out there somewhere if you want to go try to find it. But he's not in a good space with his personal life over here is what the narrative's been and what I heard from a very, very reliable source.
Yeah.
So, look, I was saying, I made a video on the Jackson situation on the channel throughout the week. I was saying constantly that when there's smoke, there's fire. There is a fucking hazardous amount of smoke around this. Like, I don't want to believe it. I was hiding behind, it's the West, 4 years ago on a random Tuesday night. They said that Lachie Neale was coming back to Fremantle and look what happened. So I'm hiding behind that at the moment. But there was no smoke around that till Ryan Daniels just pulled that out of his ass. Like, as you just said, you told me about that when it happened, that barbecue. Before there was anything in the media publicly. I don't have a good feeling about this. I really don't. Like, Luke Jackson seems like a character that sort of just, no matter what the reports are and no matter what he truly feels, will just get on with it, act like a happy geezer, play his footy. And look, he's going to be a happy chap for the rest of the season here at Freo, publicly, on the field. He's going to play good footy for us. That's just the sort of character he is. But just from what I've heard and from what sort of where this news is coming from, you were speaking about, it's Glenn Quartermain and Craig O'Donoghue on the West Sport podcast. It's a really good podcast, and they are two reliable figures in West Australian media. And when Mitch Cleary first broke this sort of Luke Jackson thing in the preseason, we hid behind that it's Vic driven, and the Victorians just want a superstar generational ruckman to come home. This is now the West Australian media getting in on it. And I don't think that two people that I'm certain would just want the best for West Australian football would just be pushing out bullshit stories with no sort of repertoire behind it. So I'm worried, mate. I'm worried.
You were so optimistic on the video you made. Now you're saying that you're worried. Now I'm worried. I just hope that... So there's been a bunch of Facebook comments and that type of thing circulating as well. And I don't want to get into what's going on. I don't know anything that's actually going on, but it is personal relationship related. It's not anything to do with his missus, who's, from Melbourne. But
Geelong,
you said that she lived in Perth and played for the West Coast Fever for a bit anyway. So I'm sure she wouldn't be the one that's like driving him out, just like, I want to live in Melbourne, like classic, Wag wants to go home type situation. From what I can understand, it's, the relationships that Luke Jackson has with people close to him that have broken down. And it's just making for a toxic life for him outside of football. That's the best way that we can sort of gather what's going on, because, we're hearing that, Luke Jackson loves the Dockers. He loves the boys. He loves the club. Then why the frick would he want to go? And it just sounds like, I don't know, there's a whole lot of bullshit going on for him off field. And he wouldn't have requested a trade back if he didn't want to play for this football club. So I just, really want to have faith that Luke Jackson can resolve these issues and he can really double down and buy into what the club can offer to keep him here. Because when Simon Goodwin was asked about it, the Melbourne coach, he said we would absolutely try to get Luke Jackson back in if he was looking to come back over here, but he's contracted until 2029. That is a fat, juicy contract that he's on. And then the follow-up question was, well, could we just see a straight swap for Cozzy Pickett, who's rumoured to come over here? So they're in the same position as us. We are pretty much, Melbourne and Freo right now, just sat there with like two guns, like Western shoot-off style. But none of us really want to pull the trigger. Well, we want Cozzy, but you're not taking Luke Jackson.
No, exactly.
So, hang on, let me just finish this point because I'm rambling on. But I've sort of lost my train of thought now. No, I'll get it back. Luke Jackson. Fuck. You've pushed me off my train of thought.
My bad. I'll quickly fucking take over from you there. I apologise. Look, if we're just speaking about Cozzy there.
Hang on. I've got it. No,
go. All you.
So Simon Goodwin followed up with, we want to make Cozzy Pickett a demon for life. We are going to do absolutely everything we can to support him. And as a Melbourne Football Club, That is our number one priority right now. And that's the same mindset that Freo need to have. Fuck all this off-field stuff with whatever's going on with you, Luke. Buy into the boys. Buy into the club. We're going to make this all good for you. I hope that's what happens. Now you can speak.
Absolutely. And the thing is, if theoretically a swap deal for Luke Jackson and Keziah Pickett came up, I would not be happy doing that. And it's like Luke Jackson is so much more valuable to this club than Kozzy Pickett would be. We all want Kozzy. There's no secret. We would love Kozzy Pickett to be playing in the purple next year. But if it means we lose Luke Jackson, no way. You can stay a Demon for life, brother. So, yeah, this guy is so crucial to the future makeup of our club. We would lose probably a year of progress by losing him because, God, as soon as... If he leaves, we're then leaving, Liam Reedy is full-time ruck because Sean Darcy won't be on the park. So, look, tactics aside, it would just be a massive, massive blow for the football club to lose yet another top talent. We've seen so many players leave and just become absolute staples at their clubs. Blake Acres, Lloyd Meek, Ed Langdon, Jesse Hogan, prime example. Look, a Lockie Neal. Oh my God, there's so many, isn't there? I'm so worried, but as you said, we just have to put everything into keeping this guy around and building a good culture around him. Now, just quickly, I want to bite back to the Giants game for a second. You just mentioned Jesse Hogan there. Brennan fucking Cox is a gun. Oh my God. What a game. I'm sorry. I can't believe we didn't talk about the backs. I'm so sorry if this is off on a tangent. You can edit around this if you want.
You do what you like, mate. I'll let you go.
I am going to do what I want because Brennan Cox has been a guy I've criticised and he wasn't in my best 22 at the start of the year. I love the guy. He's my favourite player. Like, what a performance. He played on Jesse Hogan all day, kept him to 1 goal, absolutely shut him down. What a performance from Coxie. He is putting together some patch of form. Anyway, go on a tangent now about Jackson, Pickett, or Cox, whatever you choose.
All I can say is, who needs Kozzy Pickett when you've got Jack Deline?
Oh, mate, the South Australian hero.
Who needs Kozzy? Yeah, big ups Brennan Cox. Front of the media today, and he was very happy with his performance, and hopefully he can build on form. But it's that Ryan Pearce Cox trio that have been around for a while now. Like they all played at Subi. They're all older figures at the club. So yeah, we need that continuity between those three. It's not a single man's job to defend the best forward. We've seen us try to defend Sam Darcy. I thought we did a good job on him, even though we had a good game. Riley Thorpe in the tools, and then Jesse Hogan. Like, it's a team effort, and good on you, Brennan. He's come back from a bad injury last year, and he's playing some good footy. What else have we got here? Oh, Sean Darcy. Do you want to talk about him?
Oh, well, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm actually a bit rucked out, to be honest. We've just had a 20-minute discussion about Luke Jackson. I even dabbled Liam Reedy into the conversation there. Look, if you want to go further down, Charlie Nichols he's on the plate. So, yeah, look, Sean Darcy's he's a interesting topic at the moment. Tied very much so in with the Luke Jackson situation. I think we've all come around to the fact, I was sort of pretending that Sean Darcy's our best ruckman for a little bit there. He's not. Like, it is night and day. We play our best football, our finals caliber football when Luke Jackson is in the team. And when Sean Darcy's in there, we lose an extra number around the ball. We lose movement around the ground. And when we can't get more than 5 games into him at a time, he's never going to build back up to the standards that we know he can play at. So, yeah, I'm worried. We've lost all his weight. That was his main attribute. Oh, I don't know. He's in an absolute
main attribute.
It actually was. He threw his weight around. He mixed in with the Toby Nankervises and the Tristan Cherries of the world, and now I don't know what he is. He's just a bit of a pickle, to be honest.
It's not. Sean Darcy isn't the issue. The issue is that Luke Jackson is so much better, and we look so much better with Luke Jackson in the team. Like, it's not a Sean Darcy issue. It's that there's a better player. Like, it's not that we don't have Shane Kirsten in the side. It's that we've got Josh Racy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, there was a lot of questions about Darcy. To be fair, his ruck work against Collingwood was good. Like our clearance differential was good all day. But in the modern AFL, it takes a lot more than just being a good tap ruckman. Tim English is having a good season. Darcy Cameron is a massive part of why Collingwood are doing so well at the moment. He's moving around the ground, setting up behind the ball. And you can see what a game Luke Jackson had on Saturday night, just around the ground, clearances, contested ball. Those are just things that Sean Darcy doesn't offer. And how much longer are we going to tell ourselves? And I think all the fans are on side, to be honest. I think all the fans... I want to actually make a poll, if we can do that in the comments or some sort of thing. Maybe
on Spotify, if you're listening on Spotify, I would chuck a poll up on there.
Do you agree or disagree that we are better or worse with Darcy? Are we better with Darcy or are we better without Darcy? Because in my mind, I genuinely feel that without Darcy in the side, I reckon 90% of Freo fans would be on side with that. And
well,
I don't know what statistics the coaches are looking at. Maybe it is just clearances, but Luke Jackson offers so much more. And when Paddy Voss goes into the centre for 5-10 minutes a quarter, he just tackles and bashes and he's just obnoxious and he just runs about. Like, maybe he doesn't have the best tap work, but he's better on his feet as soon as the ball hits the ground.
That's the debate. It's not Jackson or Darcy, it's Darcy or Voss. And Paddy Voss at the moment is adding so much more to our team. We saw Sean Darcy rest forward for large portions when he came back into the team.
Boy, does he rest forward, if you know what I'm saying.
Mate, he was laying down at some point. I think he got the pillow out. He was
on the chaise lounge. One leg up,
oh my
just
God.
in the goal square like this.
Genuinely, he was having a nice old snooze. It was very hot in the Barossa as well when he came back, and I don't blame him. I was having a snooze up in the stands. So, yeah, look, Sean, he is in an absolute pickle. And I think, as you said, the fans are on side. We all know Luke Jackson is better than Sean Darcy, and we know Luke Jackson should be our number one ruck going forward. But we all want the best for Sean Darcy, and we've all got a bit of sympathy for Sean Darcy because we don't want to see his sort of Freo career end like this. Like, he's been a great servant to the club for 8 years. He's been a near All-Australian ruckman. He was a main part in that 2022 finals run we had. And we know he's still a good footballer. I know for a fact that if we offered him to Geelong right now under contract, we'd get a pretty good haul in return for him.
Yeah.
So, look, I feel bad for Sean Darcy, but it is so blatantly obvious that our best footballer is when Luke Jackson's in the ruck with Paddy Voss in the forward line.
And we've spoken about this. We've literally titled like the ruck dilemma, and every time a footy show gets 2 minutes to talk about Freo, they go, how good is Luke Jackson? And God, they need to do something about Sean Darcy. That's pretty much all they say about Freo. But yeah, it's got to the point now where it's like, at what point do all the players and the people at the club stop playing stupid? And Sean Darcy probably knows this as much as anyone, that we just look better without him in the side, as sad as it is. But maybe at the end of the year, we don't have Luke Jackson and this problem's gone and we just have Sean Darcy and Vossi bopping about.
Maybe we trade for Gawn. That could be the one.
No, come on now. Don't be silly.
Gawn and Darcy, double ruck.
I think we've covered everything from the GWS game. Port Adelaide at home coming up. They have been, for lack of a better term, absolutely hard and in the last 2 weeks. I'll probably
that will not be staying in the podcast. Fuck you know.
Yeah. But 76-point loss last week. They lost in the showdown before that, and then a 90-point loss to the Dogs before that. So only just got over the line against North Melbourne. I'm literally just scrolling through my phone looking at the results, but they have not looked like a good football side this year. Jason, they have the cosh over us usually. I think the last time we beat them from memory was 2022, the night after my 21st birthday. I showed up to Optus Stadium very hungover. And
do you have any stories from that night for the podcast?
Oh, Do I have any stories from that night? Well, yeah, I had a fair amount of celebratory beverages and just had a good night, to be honest. But that was the most, probably the most wrecked I've ever been. But I saw Mitch Georgiades take a very good mark that next day, 1 mark of the year. Anyhow, Jason Horne-Francis is usually the one that towels us up, and he's out with a hamstring injury. They will be without Lockie Jones as well. All we got to do is do what we know how to do, and we win the game. The things that we know how to do: win clearances. Luke Jackson, have a good game. Thanks. Caleb Serong and Brayshaw, do your thing. Shai Bolton, take the piss. Point 1. Point 2, team defence. Defend as a team. That starts with the small forwards bringing pressure up the ground as well as the midfielders. That is number 2. Number 3, when we move the ball, please don't bomb it long. Lower the eyes and hit the fast small forwards that we have. If Freddie isn't leading out the back for it, or Jai Amos, look at young Murphy Reid. Boy can use the ball. Saw a stat today that only Cyril Rioli and Errol Goulden have had more goal assists at this point in their career, and they're pretty handy players. So get the ball in the hands of that man, lower your eyes, improve the entries inside 50, do those 3 things, and we beat Port Adelaide by 70 points.
Yeah, look, easier said than done, isn't it? Because this game, I mean, you're certainly sounding more optimistic right now than what you were 10 minutes ago.
Well, no, that's all we got to do. That is all we have to do. If we can do those things, we win.
We do. One big red flag I want to point out here is whenever we play a team that tags, no matter how good or bad they are, we lose. Port Adelaide tag.
No, Toby Bedford's a tagger, and
he did not put a hard tag on the weekend. I was surprised.
He's one of the best taggers in the comp, though.
He is. No, Toby Bedford is a great tagger. He's probably top 3 taggers in the comp. He did not tag. That was not a hard tag. Miles Bergman, he's having a good few weeks. He shut down Jordan Dawson to a near showdown victory a few weeks ago.
Didn't Dawson have a big game in the showdown?
No, he did not, I don't believe.
I'm going to fact check that.
Dawson had 14 disposals.
Dawson had 14 disposals in the showdown. There you go.
He did. And Max Holmes on the weekend, he had quite a day at the office than usual. I guess you can't really go with Bailey Smith. So if Miles Bergman decides to go to Caleb Serong this weekend, or if Ken Hinkley decides to put him there, we're going to have to come up with a plan B, because our plan B for plan A this season has been plan A. So we've got to figure something out. And aside from that, you're right. Like, they're without Jason Horne-Francis, their best midfielder. They're going to lose Connor Rozee off half-back by chucking back in the midfield, so that'll remove a main weapon from their game. We literally just have to rock up and pants them. It is going to be arctically cold on Saturday night. It's going to be raining. It's going to be about 8 degrees. It's going to be horrible.
Gross.
Yeah, exactly. So it's got all the signs of a dockery sort of night at the O. But we've just got to, as you said, show up, do the business. And they have not been a difficult team to get a hold of in the middle of the park this season. Their contested possessions this season, Ken Hinkley's been at the club for 13, 14 years. They're the worst numbers ever under Ken Hinkley.
This is
points against from clearances, the worst ever under Ken Hinkley. Clearances, the second worst ever under Ken Hinkley. This is on the weekend, that was their 4th loss by 75 plus points since the qualifying final last year. They are getting pantsed week in, week out. Well, Port Adelaide are just in a mental rut at the moment. I'm not really sure how they're going to get out of it. I don't think a trip to Perth's going to do them any favours.
It could do. We've played St Kilda into form. We've played the D's into form.
We don't do this at home.
We could.
Obviously, we could. Like, we could lose the Derby later this year, but we're just not going to. I can't believe I've said that. But yeah, we've just got to do the job on them. No Horne-Francis, take the piss. Tracy kicks 8, we win.
If it's going to be a wet night, that kind of worries me a little bit. But on paper, Port Adelaide do not have a bad side. Like, they've got a lot of talent across the park, but yeah, it's just not going well for Port Adelaide at the moment. I'll be filming the Oppo View with my good friend Anthony the Pair tomorrow night. So that'll be out tomorrow, whenever this drops. This will be out Tuesday. But let's wrap it up there. That is 50 minutes of Freo dribble. Thanks for joining me, Noah. And until we win our next 5, I'm not going to be too up and about. But that was a fun pod. Hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure you leave a like, comment, all that good stuff. I'll let you sign out, Noah. You do the rest.
Oh, thanks, mate. Yeah, stay on top of all the content throughout the week. Op overview, preview. Leave a like on the podcast. 5 stars on Spotify. You know the drill. Yeah. Up the Dockers. Let's get another dub on the weekend and kick into Flagmantle mode. Or flag you up. Let's continue that Wally up undefeated streak. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Up the Dockers.